I can just gauge the room and you can feel it. I mean, we get to be on the big stage, man, and our guys are excited about that. And one way or another, we get to play one more game. At the very least, we're playing one more game.
That is Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell commenting on how excited they are and how much this game means for them Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers. Welcome to the Ermanni and Edwards with Maz show right here on woodwardsports.com as well as fox2detroit.com. Thank you guys for watching along, being a part of the chat. We appreciate you. Even Tristan calling Ben Roethlisberger a clown. We love the clown emoji. Throw it in there as much as you can, guys. We got JB.
I agree with Tristan.
We got JB, we got Fletch, Dan Campbell talking about it. I think we talked about this yesterday. The tone he's setting is the right thing he's doing. A lot of times coaches try to bury the lead with a game like this, like, oh, it's just another game on our schedule. No, we're going to treat it just like, hey, we're coming in on Tuesday or Wednesday just like we always do. Dan Campbell's putting the pressure on the guys. No, this is a big game. This is a play. Even if we're not playing to get in, we got a chance to have a winning record. And Amon-Ra St. Brown had a quote about that too. Like, this is about going 9-8 and keeping the Packers out of the playoffs.
That's real. That's absolutely real. Like, listen, if you are a Detroit Lion, you hate the Packers. So your job is to hate the Packers. And I love that Amon-Ra St. Brown said that. But going back to your initial question, talking about Dan Campbell, I love it. As a former player, he knows what it means to play in big games. He knows what it means to play in games that are just a little bit different than the average game you play in. Look, every game's not treated the same. And this is one where everything's on the line in this game. And then if it's not on the line, you know it is on the line, it's keeping the Packers out of the playoffs. So I think, especially after all the BS that who has talked all season, I love that he's getting his guys going. You got to get guys up for this game. If every game was the same, then why would they talk about playoff level intensity? Why would people's elevation go up in the playoffs versus the regular season? This is a playoff implicated game, and you're a team, I got to pause as I say this, that deserves the opportunity to go to the playoff or deserves the opportunity to finish the season 9-8 after a tremendous second half of the season. So I love that Dan Campbell had these guys ready, but I love that they answer the bell that Dan Campbell sets. Right. It's the one thing you love about the relationship with Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, Stick and Maz, is like whenever he says something, they echo that. Whenever they say something, he echoes that. Like, they do a very good job of that. Like, this isn't no BS when they say we play for him. When he says, like, those are my guys.
And
this
I think
is
it's because he's authentic
family.
and you're not getting that stupid-ass coach speak that you get every week. The same broken record over and over again. And you see that a lot of times in press conferences. I don't know what it's like in the locker room. And, like, a lot of people didn't love Jim Caldwell because of how he operated in press conferences. I don't know if he was a fiery guy in the locker room getting guys. I don't know that. But what I do know... Not everybody
is a podium guy.
Right. What I do know is Dan Campbell is a podium guy.
It's very true.
And he's a guy that is delivering the message that his guys get behind. You know, because you can't deliver that message and put pressure on guys that can't handle it. So I think they've selected, there's another Brad Holmes thing, selected the right type of guys to when pressure comes, they're not going to shy away with it and be like, no, this is just a normal game. It's, no, this is for everything.
And he's done that all year. Like, if you paid attention, he put pressure on Jared Goff. For people early on in the season,
That's
like,
right.
it was like, whoa, damn, did he say that about Jared Goff?
Yeah.
He put pressure on Jeff Okudah. He's put pressure on Aiden Hutchinson. He's put pressure
Jeff Okudah.
Exactly. He's put pressure on Aaron Glenn. He's put pressure on coaches. He's put pressure on players. And guess what's never come out? There never was a problem.
Yeah.
There never was an issue with the Detroit Lions. They never broke the fabric of being together. Like, he's done that. So you got to give him credit for doing that. You got to give his players and coaches credit for saying, you know what, that's on me. I'm ready to go.
Well, that's what great coaches do, too. They know how to apply the right amount of pressure.
He basically said,
and which ones.
Yes.
If we're going to go down, we're going to go down my way. Yeah. Because that's last year when he sat down and Anthony Lynn, he took the play calling away from him. Listen, I got one chance to be a head coach. Yeah. I'm not blowing it. This year, last in defense, Aubrey Pleasant, I'm sorry. They let him go. Yeah, he went to Green Bay, so I'm happy that he got a gig. But that had to be hard for him. But he's doing it his way. Guys like him, Pete Carroll, the guys that work the refs, work the sidelines, that are more boisterous, those are my kind of guys. Like Bill Parcells back in the day. I mean, Bill Belichick. I just don't like Jim Caldwell was a great guy.
That's some great company you just put Dan Campbell in.
I do. Well, he comes from the Bill Parcells tree.
I know he does.
All right.
You hit the nail on the head with that one. And what I mean by that is last year there weren't too many things that I necessarily liked about Dan Campbell in terms of his coaching style. Wasn't too many things. I'm just being honest. I think sometimes you have to learn, and he's gotten damn better. Now, like a couple of things. But man, the one thing I really enjoy that he asked his friend Anthony Lynn to come, because Anthony Lynn, remember, was done. He took some time off. He was going to make his next move or figure it out, probably get into some consulting work like he's doing now for the 49ers. He said, yo, I need you to come coach this Detroit Lions team with me. I know you retired, but come over here with me.
Right.
It wasn't going well. He fired his friend. Like he let his friend go that he asked to come out of retirement. You know what message that sends? Look, we're boys, but my guy didn't get it done. I got to go another direction, because like man said, you don't have too long at this. This isn't back in the day where teams are going to let you sit for a team for 5 years and 6 years and figure out as a head coach. You only got about 3-year window. So that was one of the first things I was like, yo, okay, Dan Campbell, that's a ballsy move.
Yeah, he does it his way. Sometimes that can completely backfire. So far, he's pulling the right strings.
He's learning,
making the right moves. He is learning on the job. We knew that was going to happen. That's why
cost us a few games.
D-Mac's famous clock that he keeps in the corner during his show, like. In retrospect, D-Mac was smarter than the majority of us, because he knew that, hey, this is a 34-game evaluation process. This isn't a 17-game evaluation. It isn't even a 22-game evaluation process. We got to wait to see the totality of 2 years. Because if he would have thrown this away middle of the season, oh, man, this guy's, Adam was saying he should have worked at McDonald's and not been coaching. Now it's like, oh, man, he's up for Coach of the Year. Sometimes you just got to let things simmer. Let it marinate.
Yeah, you're right. D-Mac hit the nail on the head with that. And the thing is, how many of us watched last year, sat on this desk, sat in that chair, sat in the booth, and we analyzed it, and we kept using a word last year as related to the Detroit Lions, undermanned. We kept saying that they were undermanned. We kept saying that, like, usually when coaches take over a team, they take over a situation, like there's some players, or there's a couple keystone players on that team already, and then they got to go find a couple. Like the Detroit Lions were looking for everything last year, and we kept saying undermanned. But then when it related to the losses and the wins, we were ignoring the fact that we said undermanned. So you're absolutely correct about that.
Yeah, well, where they're not undermanned right now is that defensive line. I think everybody's been impressed by
from.
Todd Wash is doing a great job.
The 6th round is where it came from. With Houston pairing him with and Pascal had 2 sacks last game.
Yeah,
showing signs of life. And Todd Wash loves coaching this D line. Here's him, proof.
It's an enjoying group to coach. That's probably the most important thing. I love coming to work, being with them on the field, on the grass, in the meeting room. That's probably it, because they're great people.
And there it is again, not just talking about athleticism, not just talking about what they do on the field, but talking about the quality of the character of the men.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. Guys who can apply pressure and they will respond, not crumble. That's a huge deal. And then Todd Wash talking about James Houston, who has literally come out of nowhere. This is what he had to say about James Houston.
Once obviously some of these nicks and injuries created, it was an opportunity for us to get him up, take a look at him. When he was up, he hadn't taken any practice reps. So some of this stuff did shock us. There's no doubt.
No, he didn't come from anywhere. He came from Jackson State. Shout out to Deion Sanders for that. Like, you watch James Houston, like, he's so athletic. He's so talented. Like, I watched the sack that everyone saw on Justin Fields.
When he dropped in the coverage.
And, oh, by the way, like, Aiden Hutchinson has gotten his love all year for being the same, athletic and talented and dropping in coverage and doing some things that we didn't necessarily think that he could do, or that weren't a part of his scouting report. But talking about James Houston now, he looks electric coming off the edge. Justin Fields has arguably been the most athletic player in the NFL this season. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
He's the most athletic player on the field during the season.
Look how low he gets.
Look how
that's the dip.
Yeah,
the dip, and he's so quick. I bet Ohio State is wishing that they would have knew this back then and used that a little bit more. They may not have lost to Alabama. But when you see him catch Justin Fields 7 yards in the back, and it didn't even struggle, didn't even get nervous, came up there and made a move on. Pascal is showing. Like, I think another good thing too, as we talk about drafting the right players, it's just like college. You can pick the right players, or you can recruit the right players and have the right players come into your organization or come into your institution. But if you don't have the right coaches that can develop, like, if you don't have the right guys to develop, those players never get better. And I think what you're saying with the Lions is they haven't had a ton of development. This year, They're developing players at all positions, and that's why they're having some late in-season success.
Steve Brown in the WoodwardSports.com chat, when talking about Houston, says people overlook his speed on that forced fumble, too. That stuck out to me. And like you were talking about, the one where he dropped back in coverage, what really stood out to me is the two different gears he had. We talked about this. It was a tracking gear and then a killing gear. It was like, gotcha, bah! And he just like a cobra almost, Like it was. I haven't seen that type
like
of
a tiger
explosion.
in the jungle.
It was like a running back almost. You know how running backs kick it into that second gear, wide receivers?
Yeah.
I really haven't seen that out of a defensive lineman.
No, that's real. Yeah, you're absolutely right, because you got to track. Because if you go too fast early, what did we talk about early in the year? Over pursuit.
Over pursuit.
You over pursuit, which makes it easier for the running back or let's just say the skilled player on offense to get by you. He's not over pursuing. He's like you said. That's the best word. He's tracking, and right when he trusts himself, right when he has, and then you see the confidence in him. I think that's the key too. Once he tracks, then you see the confidence that he has in himself to say, okay, now it's time to go. Like, not everybody can do that. Turn that off and on. That's a good point.
How about that
especially
back-to-back
without running them over?
How about the back-to-back 6th-round picks last year? Malcolm Rodriguez and James Houston. And there was another special guy in the 6th round about 22 years ago as well. I mean, what is with the 6th round? I bet you if we look at the 6th round.
Did you say 22 years ago?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Who was it?
25 years ago?
Oh, Tom Brady you're talking about.
Tom Brady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
I thought you were talking about for the Lions. I'm like,
no,
who
no.
the hell? 22 years ago, the Lions
we can't even get a 2nd round pick right. we finally got the 6th round down. If we can get the 2nd round down, we're going to be unstoppable.